Who visited Jesus at birth and when? This is a question that we are addressing today. We are going to do that in two parts. The first part will focus on Luke's account. The second part will be on Matthew's account. And so stay with me as we address this issue. It's very important because of the season in which we find ourselves today. Before we start, kindly subscribe if you are yet to be a member of Bible Talk Class by clicking the bell icon and subscribe to the channel. Like this video and many others that are prepared on the Bible. Share this video and many others again with your family, your friends, your church, and the world to know what the Bible says about us, about this world, and hereafter.
Sweet promises given to all who believe.
Now, let's begin this presentation by first noting this point, that the birth narrative of Jesus has been viewed with some suspicion because Matthew and Luke report two visits when Jesus was born. It's really a concern. Some feel that, well, Matthew recorded something different from Luke, and therefore they are reporting to us false narrative, and we should not rely on their reports. In this presentation, we're going to look at the focus of each of the author. So the question that we want to address more specifically is, are the wise men who visited the young child, Jesus, in the Gospel of Matthew the same as the shepherds in the Gospel of Luke? And when can we situate these visits? It's important to do that, and that will be our prime concern. Now, when we are done with our presentation, we'll try to conclude as to whether Matthew and Luke were recounting the same event involving the same people. So stay with us as we begin. Let's begin with Luke's account. According to Luke, Joseph traveled with his espoused wife who was pregnant. This passage is very important. But Luke further states in Luke chapter 2 verse 7, and I read, "And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn." This is what we find in Luke. It's important to align this verse 7. Let's give snapshots of Luke's account to appreciate the text and the issue in simple terms. Number one is that the birth of Jesus is situated in the historical setting of the reign of Emperor Augustus. Luke chapter 2 verse 1 to 4. We know that Emperor Augustus reigned from 27 BC to AD 14. It was during this time that Jesus was born. Now, according to the text, chapter 2 verse 5, Mary, the espoused wife of Joseph, was pregnant with a child. Verse 7, as we have already read, Mary gave birth to baby Jesus in a manger in Bethlehem of Judea because there was no inn. Again, verses 8 and 12 say that an angel informed shepherds of the birth of Jesus in the manger, who were in the same region where Jesus was born. The same night that Jesus was born, an angel appeared unto shepherds who were shepherding their flock in the same region in which Jesus was born. At night, it's important to underline this movement. It's important. Luke identified Jesus as a baby. The Greek word for baby is brephos, and it's used twice in Luke chapter 2 verses 12 and 16, when Luke refers to the child that had just been born fresh the same night, brephos. But when he was given a summary statement of what the shepherds were to do with the news about his birth, in verse 17, Luke uses paidion, meaning a child, just giving a different word to signify the category of age, a child, adult, just to distinguish between a child and adult. but not the time of birth. If you are referring to the time of birth, the child was born just last night, you will say brephos. And so that's what we need to underline here. Because when we go to Matthew, we see some dynamics in the use of the Greek. It's important. Now, Luke says that the shepherds visited baby Jesus in a manger, and his parents at night, when they were informed, suggesting a short distance, the shepherds visited Jesus the same night that they were informed of the birth of Jesus, the same night, suggesting that from where they were to where Jesus was born was just a short distance. It is important to underline this as we go to look at Matthew's account on the journey that the wise men embarked on. Luke recounts that the shepherds visited baby Jesus in the evening. The shepherds were in the field taking care of their flock. Why in the evening or at night? Because it was during that time that the flock gave birth to their little ones. It means also that they had fresh vegetation, greens springing up. Therefore, they could be fed well in the field, which means that the shepherds were taking care of their flock in the spring season, March, April, or May. Therefore, they visited Jesus either in March, April, or May. Any of these months could be a possible date of birth of Jesus. Now, the shepherds spread abroad the news about the birth of Jesus. That was the purpose of their visit. Luke chapter 2, verse 17. The angel asked them, told them about the birth of Jesus, and they rushed to where Jesus was born. And after seeing Jesus, they went abroad spreading the news about the birth of Jesus. So the purpose of their visit was evangelistic, was to be informed about this child and his mission so that they could share the message with the world. So that is the purpose. So we can see from here that Luke recounts that when Jesus was born, shepherds who were shepherding their flock in the same region, the same district wherein Jesus was born, were informed about the birth of Jesus, and they traveled the same night and they saw Jesus in a manger. And after that, they went abroad and shared the message. I hope now you have understood Luke's account on those who came to visit Jesus when he was born, baby Jesus. These were shepherds who were shepherding their flock in the same region that Jesus was born. It's important to note this fact, and that they traveled the same night that they were informed of the birth of Jesus. It means that the distance from where they were shepherding their flock and where Jesus was born was very short. That's the point we want to underline. And that when they came to Jesus, they saw Jesus in a manger, not in a house, in a manger, because there was no space for Joseph and Mary to stay. And that's why we see that. And Jesus also is identified as brephos, a baby Jesus. And that's what we find. It's important to understand that ultimately the purpose of your visit was to come and see the great work that God has done and tell the world about it. Now we move on to Matthew's account. And so in the next presentation, we're going to look at Matthew's account on the people who came to visit Jesus and see whether there are same people that Luke tells us about, or they are different people, or they're just confusing us, giving us different accounts, and therefore the birth narrative of Jesus cannot be relied on. Let's move on to Matthew's account. See you there.
Sweet promises guaranteed.